Hi guys, it's me, Mex. So, I really like music, and I want to talk more about music on this channel, so you may have gathered that by the fact that my first episode of this PNG Tube format was literally a countdown of my 50 favorite songs of last year. Yes, 50. I didn't want to wait till year's end and do my countdown video, and I wanted to talk about albums I really like, and also give other people a chance to send me their albums and I listen to them, because, I did this frequently when I was on Twitter, and I've listened to probably like 250 albums just this year, even before starting this project. You could say I'm a little bit of a music nerd, but not like in the technical sense, more of just like, I'm a person who genuinely enjoys music. So this is the idea I had, and it started as one project and kind of turned into another midway through. So this is an album exchange. I selected a handful of people to review some of my favorite albums, and then those 15 or so random people sent me back some of their favorite albums of all time. But everybody else, I said, have at it. I had people send me PNGs, people do voiceovers, people send it like full-on videos. This is just supposed to be a fun, creative experiment so that we can, present our feelings on albums and music all in our own unique ways. So I thought this would be a fun little collaboration, and I hope you guys enjoy this too. First up, we have Ash receiving Ever After by Marianas Trench.
Hello, my album was Ever After by Marianas Trench and was honestly incredible. The vocal performance was fantastic. The lead was super clean and powerful, and the harmonies really fill up the space like a big fuzzy blanket wrapping around your ears. The flow between tracks is also amazing. I especially really liked the first and last tracks, as they did a great job of just introducing and closing out the album in a way that really tied it together into one big cohesive experience. I was also a really big fan of Truth or Dare. I think that one is probably the song I would be most likely to listen to on its own, although I definitely think that this album is best experienced all in one shot. I think if you like an album that you can listen to in one sitting and feel like you've been on a whole adventure, this is definitely the one for you. Final verdict, 10 out of 10.
And what he sent me back was Sleepyhead by Cavetown.
A sweet tooth for you, I'm wide awake.
Sleepyhead can be reviewed in short terms. Beta male Colby Calais. It's as if the plain white tees grew some teeth. Baby teeth. You know an album is boring if you're feeling its length when the entire album is only 38 minutes of atonal droning melodies, bland hooks, and not an ounce of catchiness in favor of, I guess, decently written poetry. 4 out of 10. Next up on the table, we got Luca receiving California by Mr. Bungle. Okay, so I'm gonna come right out and say it. I had no idea what to expect, but it wasn't this. I can't tell what genre Mr. Bungle is trying to be. We've got some surfer bro rock vibes, a bit of jazz pop, some indie rock, even prog metal, and then just wacky bullshit sound effects. It sounds borderline experimental, but still, I gotta say, I didn't dislike it. There's a few on here I like, but it couldn't hold up anything against my top 10 of all time. Final rating, 6.75 out of 10. Wacky, different, odd, but still enjoyable. And in exchange, Lucas sent me Impera by Ghost. Imagine you're like drinking your first Coca-Cola after living your whole life only drinking RC. That's the best way to describe my experience listening to this record. I've heard Brother Firetribe and Crush 40, but I had yet to experience the real thing until this project. Love the soaring hooks and guitar riffs. Couple great tracks here. Honestly, a huge surprise considering I don't normally seek out arena rock. 8 out of 10. And that naturally transitions Luca into Luke, who received Inter Funda Stifle by Fair to Midland.
Tell them all to chop me off with that.
I really, 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 really want to like this album. It seems like I should. Prelude perhaps set the bar too high, because the genre shifts afterwards. It's masterfully written, and I'm even a fan of the lower production value because it adds charm. This is an album that will either grow on me or exist as an album that almost broke through for me, and I'll have to revisit it in due time. As it stands, 7 out of 10, though it could go much higher. In exchange, I received Mint Jams by Cassiopeia. Very pleasant, timeless listen with tons of melodic interplay and great little guitar riffs. Not exactly something I'd seek to revisit, but extremely nice for what it is. 7.5 out of 10. Following that, we have Anne Chovy receiving The Great Eastern by the Delgados.
There's a light on in my head, and I'm thinking what I said.
Fair warning, this is actually my favorite album of all time. So let's see what Anne thinks of this.
So I was listening to The Great Eastern by the Delgados, and the thing that hit me first about the album that I really, really liked, the opening track does a really great job of like showing this off, is the soundscape of this album is really, really nice. It really combines these pretty nice, like classic soft indie rock kind of vibes with these really good orchestral sounds from like strings and woodwinds and bells, and it all comes together to create this really like beautiful atmosphere. And then a lot of like driving rhythms, a lot of like 3-4 time signatures kind of combine with that beautiful atmosphere to create these like soaring sensations, especially throughout the like the middle of the album. Towards the end, you get these kind of like melancholic tracks that are really, really sweet, and I feel like are perfect for like a soft kind of like contemplative day. So yeah, I'd really, really recommend this album, especially to somebody who's kind of likes like folk vibes, or just like anything soft indie. It really, really feels ahead of its time. For an album that came out in 2000, the year, it feels like something that could have come out in like the late 2010s. It is really good.
In exchange, I received Wide Awake by Parquet Courts.
Can't count how many times I've been outdone by nihilism. Join the mods that splits an open heart into a schism.
Parquet Courts strikes me as an act heavily influenced by soul and blues rock, and is sonically reminiscent of the Ramones or The Who, complete with very raw production. If you like that, I'd recommend. Tenderness is an excellent track among an album that as a whole did not strike me in any remarkable way. 6 out of 10.
Hi, this is Post-Production Max. I just want to go ahead and draw attention to how much I understated the fact that Tenderness is an excellent song, because Tenderness is a fucking fantastic song and very well might end up on my top 50 this year. So I was actually putzing around trying to find out what genre this band would be considered, and I found they lie underneath a post-punk genre, which... Look, genre boundaries are so freaking weird, man, because I'm sorry, this sounds closer to...
Oh, baby, you got what I need.
than it does okay? This may be post-punk by definition, but you gotta kind of bend the genre a little bit loosely there, okay? Come on! Next up we have Ned Weasel, who received The Pursuit Begins When This Portrayal of Life Ends by Evans Blue. The start of this album didn't impress me. I felt like the songs fit too cleanly into one genre, perhaps best called nu metal, and it creates some sense of monotony and repetition. I started to like the album a little better in the middle, with songs like Kiss the Flag, My Damsel and Pinup, as they provide some topical lyrics, satisfying though somewhat nostalgic chord progressions, and interesting and intricate instrumentation. But the album's appeal to me later fell back down, and I noticed what was missing. There's no melody. Most of the album sounds composed of riffs and chord progressions, but little to no memorable melody with any clear sense of shape and structure. It's as if they let their voices just wander around the rhythms and chords and shout out whatever notes fit the most easily. However, the ending song, The Pursuit, did show a marked improvement in song structure and provided a strong closing to the semi-repetitive album after it dragged just a bit too long. 4 out of 10. Well, I like this album, so... In exchange, I received How to Drive a Bus by I've Made Too Much Pasta. Aha, here's the first one I'd already heard going in. And with that said, please listen to this album. It's so goofy, and Skuro's feigned awkward and clumsy delivery makes it an absolute treat. 8.5 out of 10. Following that, we have Azul Jaguar, who received We Are Not Alone by Breaking Benjamin. I'm not into this kind of music, but I can tell those that do will love it. Instrumentals are exactly what you want from hard rock, and the vocals are as well. Also, I think I heard one of those songs in WWE as well. Anyway, if you like hard rock, you'll love this album. And I received 199X by Genix. Your own reception on this boils down to how you consume music. There's no standout tracks as it tends to run together. Good for chill out or background, but wouldn't seek out and will struggle to remember a single moment from it. I would say the sound is balanced and mastered well, but I prefer more melodic progression and lyrical focus in electronic music by way of, say, Junkie XL or VMV Nation. I legit couldn't tell the album had restarted after it finished. Highly recommend if you like the first music you think of when you see a picture of a rave. Hardest 5 out of 10 I've ever given. One of my producers, Brian Lutra, received Come Out You're Hiding by Floor. First off, I'm not big on lyric-focused music, so my view is more on musicality, but this album still had a lot to offer. Guitar and beat were huge standouts in a lot of tracks, like Restless Soul, No More Time, and the last track, Rely. While hard to understand sometimes, the singer is really airy and beautiful, like Guarded and Where Do You Go. The theme of finding difficulty in connecting with others yet still craving it at the same time is all really strong. My favorite track was Spoiled for being grimier than the other tracks and evolving musically alongside the spiraling lyrics. Disappointing songs were Back Again and Ocean just didn't catch my attention as the slower songs on this album. This isn't a genre I listen to often, but I found myself genuinely loving half the tracks. For that, and the very strong theme of the album and consistent style throughout, I rate this an 8 out of 10. And Brian sent back to me The Day Is My Enemy by The Prodigy. You can basically copy everything I just said for Genix and apply it to this. While it's very sonically different and covers a more expansive sound palette than Genix does, The Prodigy has always been a very hit or miss act with me. On one end, songs like Omen and Spitfire show their strengths, but then you have this, an entire album. Yeah, it tends to run together, and by the end of this overly long album, which I did not listen to the deluxe cuts from, and trust me, you feel its length. 5.5 out of 10, very much not my genre. Coming up next, we have Scritch and Al Rubix, aka Scrubix, receiving Let's Get Ready to Crumble by the Russian Futurists. Paying attention to lyrics, or anything really, is not my strong suit, so I don't have too much to say about the lyrics, but if the music doesn't grab me, then it might as well just be poetry. The lyrics stand well on their own, so compliments to that part of the music. Many songs feel like background music. At least the songs are short, so they don't overstay their welcome, but I'm not sure if the shortness of the songs is a good or a bad thing. It has moments that are quirky or interesting, and a bit of it is sticking in my head afterwards, so there's something there, but it's not quite something I'd listen to again. Some of the songs were alright, it's just pretty boring. A lot of the songs basically sound the same. I feel like they're better at making intros and outros than the rest of the song. I agree with Scritch that it's very sing-songy. Around 9 he says, "Is this Gaudier?" The 90% of Godier's catalog that's not interesting or notable at all. Most of these songs sound like music to fall asleep to. I feel like none of those songs were written and everyone just kind of made up everything on the spot. Scritch is a better drummer and he's a beginner. I've pretty much forgotten about the album already and it's not even 5 minutes after the ending. Scritch, 4 out of 10. Rubik's, 3 out of 10. And what he sent me back was The Sufferer and the Witness by Rise Against. Man, we got a lot of bangers, didn't we? Anyways, so Rise Against has always been like the Wonder Years for me. Good, hard-hitting, politically charged songs about broken systems in our capitalist world, but they have never been quite good enough to be one of my favorites. This is one of their better projects, though, from my memory, complete with a few of their classic tracks. This gets a 7 out of 10. After that, I sent Aspen Shadow, Brave Faces Everyone by Spanish Love Songs.
When I was younger, I used to have the CD player where the speakers were a little wacky and made everything have that semi-funky radio signal sort of noise. I loved it a lot. Brave Faces Everyone has that same vibe, the one where it'd sound perfect on that. A nostalgia trip without ever listening to the album before. The lyrics focus a lot on discontent and problems of today. Depression, meager pay, environmental disaster, gun violence, drug problems. Depressing, but in a way where you want to scream along and lament with the rest of the world and actually do something about it. Its titular song probably sticks out to me most, rounding out the album by calling back to each previous song and asking for brave faces despite the world. Fantastic album, I'd give it a 9 out of 10.
And I received Good News for People Who Love Bad News by Modest Mouse. Remember that analogy about Coke and RC from earlier? Well, take that analogy, but maybe you aren't a Coke guy. Maybe you find Coke to be a little too heavy in the flavor department, but without enough interesting to keep you buying more. Sure, maybe that store brand you drank and would buy again if it's around now just seems like an off-brand version of the real thing, but maybe some of us just like store brand soda more than Coke. And what's the matter anyway? Dr. Pepper all the way, motherfuckers. Don't at me. 5 out of 10. I literally remember nothing from this album besides Float On, and I'm stalling for time. My buddy Hermelin received The Cross of Changes by Enigma. Imagine an early 90s mall. There's an incense shop inside, run by a new age hippie. Among the many scents, there's a faint tinge of weed. You hop in to check it out, but you feel a little funny when you leave. That's this album. Overall 6.5 out of 10. I respect the production that went into this, but the music just isn't quite my style. And what I received was Settle by Disclosure. At best, background music, at worst, blaring nonsensical noise. Most every song sounds the same to me. Latch is fine, I liked it back in 2014, but it's very dated. Not for me, 4 out of 10. Oh boy, here's the embarrassing one. I sent Biologist, Someone in Control by Trapped. Yes, Someone in Control by Trapped is one of my favorite albums of all time. If that says something about the quality of music that I'm willing to defend, guys, then I don't know what.
Yeah, final thoughts on this album. I'd say most of the music was pretty mid. None of it was terrible. There were a couple of tracks that I actually enjoyed. Specifically track number 7, Influence, and track number 11, Product My Own Design. Influence, because I think it got the message of the album across the clearest in a way that was entertaining, and Product My Own Design, because again, it kind of brought the theme of the album full circle. I would give this album like a 5.5 out of 10. Not bad. my comment still stands that it kind of just felt like off-brand 3 Days Grace, but if you like that kind of music, you'll like this. There's nothing wrong with it, really. Didn't stand out to me in a whole lot of other ways, but don't really have anything bad to say about it besides that. So, yeah, overall, not a bad time.
Biologist sent me in return Infest the Rat's Nest by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Oh look, it's prog band with funny name that I remember maybe 3 songs by off of now 6 albums I've been requested to listen to. Yay! This actually is an interesting departure from what I know them for. Away from their psych and prog-inspired status quo and closer to thrash and doom metal. Hell, I'd draw a closer comparison to Ghost with this than the rest of King Gizzard's discography. However, that's not to say I like it. To me, this sounds like Cubinate's vocalist over Metallica's early work. Not my thing, but at least it was brief, and the instrumentation's a good 5.5 out of 10. Ella Fox received another one I can't defend, Truth is Currency by Rev Theory.
This one was hard. This one was really hard. I don't really have a very strong opinion of it either way. It gives me a lot of the audio aesthetic, especially the vocalists of Nine Inch Nails. It's not Nine Inch Nails, but the vocalist has that same sort of aesthetic to them. In terms of putting down the lyrics to meaning, because I really like to find meaning in my lyrics that I listen to, I would say that this is more of like, best thing I can describe it as is an angry breakup. I don't listen to a lot of metal, so this is really new to me, so that's all I've really got to say.
And I received Nurture by Porter Robinson.
Look at the sky, I'm still here. I'll be right next to you.
Nurture to me is an album that is really close to my heart because it came at a time where I was going through quite a lot of my own mental health struggles, and it really spoke to me, especially in terms of like burnout and things that you enjoy no longer becoming fun, going through kind of like a lot of self-reflection as well. I really highly suggest listening to the album to really get a feel for what it's about.
Porter, I don't even know her. I cannot stress the emotional importance of this album to me. Yes, I knew this one going in, and as Porter released each song from this album one by one, it seemed to parallel the current discourse in my own life, inside my own head, struggling with burnout, self-worth, identity, and ultimately a deep fear of losing my passion for many things. I can go on a long time while raving about this album's high points, but let me just cut a section that I deem as some of the most important lyrics I have ever heard.
One day you show up, the urges overflow. An obsession wears you down. But don't you waste the suffering you face. It will serve you in due time.
The low points on this album are there's a few of them, but they aren't bad or unlistenable. They're just kind of there, like breathers in between the high points, valleys in between the peaks, if you will. 9 out of 10. Our penultimate entry here is Chief Casey receiving I Think You Think Too Much of Me by Eden.
'Cause then you took my heart.
A beautiful album full of songs with soft melodies that are easy to listen to whether you're lying on your bed or looking at the ceiling on a long drive elsewhere. The lyrics blend so beautifully with the tone of the music and create an image in your mind with a lot of depth and emotion. I don't typically listen to music like this regularly. I'm more of a hard rock or dance kind of listener, but this was a breath of fresh air that was lovely to listen to. Makes me want to go sit on a beach at sunset and let the day fade away. And I received Business Up Front, Party in the Back by Family Force 5.
Hold up, wait a minute, put a little love in it. Kick the habit.
Click, click, boom, you rally around the family with a pocket full of shells. Ba with the ba, to bang a dang, diggy, diggy, diggy. This is shallow and stupid, and I love every minute of it. God, it's like 303 before 303 was uncool. Here's the thing with music like this. When it's bad, it's a train wreck. But when it's good, it's such a guilty pleasure. It would be so easy to hate this album. But I can't. It's too stupid. 8 out of 10. If you disagree, you're wrong. Shut up. And finally, one of my longtime friends, Tarukai, received Ixnay on the Ombre by The Offspring. As expected of The Offspring, plenty of driving, high-energy punk rhythms as well as scathing and biting lyrics. From anti-establishment to outcast appeal to personal loss, there are strong beats all around, if perhaps less than preferred that's outwardly stand out on its own. If you love the sound of The Offspring, you'll certainly enjoy this, and you could definitely do worse to get into them as well. My favorites off of this being the singles, of course, specifically Gone Away and All I Want, the latter being very biased but still great on its own merits. 7 out of 10. In exchange, the last album I received was Stranger Heads Prevail by Thank You Scientist.
When I say that you can count on me, it's true.
This was fantastic. Honestly, the biggest surprise of this entire journey is the one that my friend Tarukai never showed me until now, despite the fact that we've been exchanging albums for like years at this point amongst each other. This is like Coheed and Cambria by way of the Mars Volta. It's so wacky and experimental while still being brilliantly written and both tonally and melodically remarkable. This album is over an hour long with only 11 songs, but you do not feel the length. I think that makes this the best one of the ones I'd not heard going in. 8.5 out of 10. And so that's Album Exchange number 1, guys. I want to do this again. If you are interested in seeing more videos in this format of equal to or greater quality than this, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and if you're feeling super generous, please feel free to make your way over to my Patreon. I have $1, $5, $10, or $25 slots available. I can tell you that $10 will guarantee you a slot in the next Album Exchange, and $5, you'll get to see all episodes of this show or any other PNG shows or even music videos 48 hours in advance. So just $5 an episode gets you that. So if you are interested, please feel free to make your way over. Hey guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye-bye!